So good evening, everyone. So just a quick intro about me. Myself, Shalini Mittal, and I have almost 7 years of experience into IT training and development. TypeScript, though, yes, it is based on ECMAScript 6. When you will see the syntax of TypeScript, it's very close to ECMAScript. It's again a superset of JavaScript. The only difference being that in JavaScript JavaScript, you have seen that whenever we want to have encapsulations mechanisms, we use function closures to provide that. There is no concept of private, public, protected. There is no concept of reusing the objects. Yes, you do have functions. You can have prototypes. You can attach prototypes. You can have those similarities with other OOPS languages support. But it's not that convenient for someone who is not familiar with JavaScript. But for someone who is familiar with .NET or Java or other OOPS specific languages. So again, everything has been advancement, and many of the syntax that TypeScript or ECMAScript 6 have brought up, that is again influenced by Python and Ruby. So again, Python and Ruby, they are also dynamically typed languages. Many of the features that you will see in TypeScript and ECMAScript, that is again influenced by these two languages. Okay. So TypeScript, again, it was developed at Microsoft, and the author who developed it his name was Anders Hillsberg. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I guess so it's Hillsberg. So Anders Hillsberg at Microsoft, he is one of the person who actually developed C# as well. So he was working on this TypeScript language. Is it different than JavaScript? Yes, in a particular sense. Though when you create TypeScript files, you can write all the JavaScript content as well. It's said it's a superset of JavaScript, bringing in the features of object-oriented programming concepts like classes, interfaces, generics, annotations, static variables, private, public, protected. So if anyone is familiar about all these terms, they will feel TypeScript more close to you guys. So before I start, I just want to know anyone who is not aware of OOPS as a concept at least. So class, inheritance, encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, overloading, overriding, static variables, constructors, interfaces, generics, annotations. TypeScript takes advantages of all these concepts, but it is a tool which is used only at compile time. Because at the end of it, the way you wrote ECMAScript 6 code, your browser doesn't understand ES6. Again, you need to transpile that code using a Babel or a Chaucer transpiler and convert it into the ECMAScript 5 version that is interpreted and understood by the browser. Same way, you again have TypeScript compilers who compile the code for you and generate the equivalent JavaScript syntax for a browser to understand and interpret. TypeScript is born from taking advantage of lots of the ES6 and ES5 concepts. At the same time, it also takes advantages of statically typed languages. Now again, TypeScript supports features like data types, interfaces, classes, decorators, modules. Now those who know .NET, they can correlate modules with namespaces. Those who know Java can correlate modules with packages. Those who don't know Java and .NET, but if you guys know C, C++, you can correlate the modules with headers. So then again, you have modules, and these all things combined, you create an Angular 2 project. So what we are doing right now is, if you see, we are basically learning. So if you want to create a .NET application or a Java application, you need to know Java, you need to know C#. Same way, if you want to create an Angular 2 full-fledged application, you need to understand and learn the language that it uses. And the language it uses is TypeScript. So next 2 days, that is today and Wednesday, it will be focused majorly on grasping and learning the TypeScript language. So we are trying to understand how TypeScript works, the concepts and the syntax for the same. Few things they might be as a blockage for you as of now, but I guess everyone knows OOPS, so you might be able to correlate easily. The moment you start creating a full-fledged Angular 2 application, you will realize how these features, they bend together to create a complex application. Okay? TypeScript, as the name suggests, it's about types. So it ideally should be statically typed, but it just allows a bit of flexibility to make it dynamically typed. So we'll see how it works. Okay, so ideally it is statically typed. So you need to declare the type of the variables, but then it has a way, because again at the end of it, these TypeScript files, they are going to be compiled to a JavaScript file, and JavaScript doesn't has types. So all the features that you are learning in TypeScript, they are all only at the development time. Nothing is available at the runtime because it gets compiled everything to JavaScript. It's just a way to give you more control over your applications through TypeScript. Okay, now, again, as usual, if I need to use TypeScript, it heavily depends on node.js. So we all have Node installed on our machines because of ECMAScript 6. We need npm installed. So yes, we have that. Now for TypeScript, you will need to install TypeScript. So again, the command is npm install -g for installing it globally, and TypeScript. So you guys can just fire this command. If I again fire it, it's already installed globally, so it won't make any sense. So this is the command that you fire, npm install. So to install TypeScript, this is the command that you type, and if it's installed, you can just check. Yeah. Okay. So this is the command, you use it to check if your TypeScript is installed properly or not. You just copy and paste these commands, and then you can fire it on your end so that your TypeScript gets installed. Okay, once it's done, I had installed through this folder and I'm using it in another folder. So because it's -g, that's global, you can install anywhere. For Babel and the package.json and installing the libraries for your application, you do it locally. Otherwise, like Node, you install globally. So if you want to install globally, you can say -g, that's it. Okay, any folder will do. Now, I'm writing some syntax. Don't worry about it if you do not understand. It's totally fine. I'll explain everything. Okay, and now, the way when we create JavaScript files, we have the extension .js. For TypeScript files, we have extension .ts. So whenever you are creating transcript files, you will be saving the files with the extensions .ts. Okay. Now this I have just written a syntax of TypeScript. I'll explain you everything. What is it? Now, if I want to compile this transcript to the JavaScript file, I'll say open in the terminal, and you just have to use the transcript compiler and give the name of the file to be compiled. Now here we don't use the term transpile, we use the term compilations, because it also throws errors and all this stuff that a compiler does. And we also say compile. Why? Because it again compiles it to a .js file. So you can see in my basic folder, I'm in my basic path. So for those who are using Mac will understand, those who are using Windows, so you will have these angular brackets and the folder path, and then you will type this command. Now, when I say basics.ts, if you just look up over here, you will not find a basics.js file. I say enter. So it automatically creates a basics.js file in the current directory. And if I open this, it's a plain JavaScript. Now this you can understand, right? And then to see the output, I can just say node and I can say basics.js. So it prints the value. So you create .ts file and you compile it using the Typescript compiler. If you want to to compile the TS files into a specific directory, you can specify the output directory by using the compiler command --out dir. So if you want to have all your JS files in one folder, and if you want to have all your TS files in one folder, you can do so by using the command this. And if you just say tsc, you can see all the compiler commands that's available with the meanings that you can use. So out of this, one that I have used is --out directory. So Babel is only used to transpile your ES6 to ES5. Now just forget about Babel, forget about everything, because now we are not going to use any of those stuff. We are now just going to work on TypeScript. That's it. And TypeScript is a totally different language than JavaScript. Okay. So this is the command you use to compile your TS files. This is the command you use to execute your JS files. Alternatively, of course, you can have an index.html. I already have one. And I'll just say basics.js. Okay. And now when I run this on the Chrome, so I'll just go. Okay, so tsc is the command to compile your .ts files. And to see the output on the console over here on the terminal, you can use node command. We are all aware of the node command. It understands only .js file. So please be sure you do not give .ts file to node. It doesn't interpret .ts files. That is interpreted only by the tsc. Okay. And then so you can see console.log 23, right? So again, it's the same thing. You have an HTML page, you want to refer to the JS file, you can just do it. You have your TS files, to compile them to .js files and then use it in your HTML file the way you use any JavaScript file. Now, let's deep dive into the basics of TypeScript. Now, as you can see over here, again, we are using var, keyword, number is a variable. Now, because it is statically typed, I have various data types available in TypeScript. So they are again Boolean, number, string, any, array, tuple, and enum. Boolean, true and false. Number, floating point numbers and integers. There is nothing called as integer in TypeScript explicitly. It's only number. And it's the same thing in Python and Ruby as well. They don't have anything specifically for integer or float. It's just everything inside a number. String, we all understand. Any means if you are not sure of the data type of a variable, you can specify with any. Arrays, again, we all know just the syntax is a bit different because now you need to specify the type of the array. When you specify the type of the array, an array can hold more than one values. Again, it stores in homogeneous memory locations. And you cannot have different types because you are using the TypeScript data types. To solve this issue, then you have tuples, wherein you can have data of different types. So Java and .NET guys can just compare with the collections that you have. Enums are nothing but constants available which you cannot define as a particular type. So common examples are, if I say days of the week, months of the year, name of the planets, all these rainbow colors, all these information, they exist, but I cannot say rainbow colors are of type Boolean, number, string. Again, there are some constants that exist. To represent these type of data, we use enums. Okay? A collection that you can cycle through for. What about objects? For objects, you have classes, and enums just represent constants. That's it. It doesn't has any type. Enum is only a type. So the way string is a data type, same way enum is also a data type. And it has only constants. That's it. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. You don't have any operations on them. You don't store data dynamically in them. They do not grow, they do not shrink, nothing like collections. Okay, now in TypeScript, the syntax is you have a variable name followed by a colon. So you have a variable, you declare a type and you assign a value. Same way I can say where name string is equals to, I can say Shalini. Now in TypeScript, semicolon is optional. If you want, you can have it. If not, you can just ignore it. Okay, now there is already a variable name declared at a block scope, block scope in TypeScript. So do not use name as a variable whenever you are working with your TypeScript files. Maybe I can just write username. And again, I can say okay. Now if I say uname is equals to it's totally fine. If I say uname equals to 23 and I do this. Okay, see, now because I'm using VS Code, it automatically compiles my data and it tells me for any syntax error if I'm making. So 23 is not assignable to type string. So now TypeScript is a statically typed language wherein you define the type beforehand. Okay, then again you will go to the terminal and you will just compile it. Okay. So this way you can go on and assign number, string, you can assign Boolean data types and so on. So this is the syntax where variable name colon followed by the type and equals to value. I can also say where num semicolon and num is equals to 23. Okay. See. Now you are learning TypeScript. TypeScript is a bit strict. Okay. So whatever nuisance was allowed in JavaScript, TypeScript doesn't allow that. Yes, in JavaScript it is dynamic. That's the reason the first statement about TypeScript I said it is statically typed. Then again, same way I can declare functions. Okay, I can say so nothing much doing, a simple function that's defined over here. Now, your function can accept parameters. I can say a comma b, right? I can go here and I can say white space use hyphen hyphen never space before and after colon. Functions here, when I say F1 and I am passing hello and I am passing by, what it will do over here to concatenate. Okay, the moment I do this, you can see over here it says duplicate function implementation F1. So you can see over here, I haven't defined any type for A and B. If I have not defined any type, the default data type is any. So I can say F2 hello comma bye. I can say F2 2 comma 4. Okay. So you can see it concatenated hello bye. And for numbers, it said 2 plus 4, that is 6. Okay. Now, if you want, again, the function variables to be defined of specific type, same thing. Okay. Then why is it saying duplicate function implementation? I guess in my Typescript files over here, I must have used function F1, F2 somewhere with the same signature. I don't remember right now, but there must be somewhere, and maybe that's the reason it's giving me errors. Because whenever now I declare function F3 like this, it's again in the global scope. So I guess so that I must be having F1, F2 functions defined in these TS files somewhere. Okay. Now here you can see, it says that argument of type hello is not assigned to parameter of type number, because now I'm specifically supplying the type of the variables or parameters of this function. So then it becomes a statically typed language. I can also say my function returns something and maybe say it's a number. Okay. Now when I do this, I can do this as well. So the signature of functions is you have a function keyword, the name of the function, in the bracket parameters. If you want to have the type of parameters, you can specify so. If your function returns a specific type, you can again do so by using the colon. And if a function returns something, you need to say return keyword, or else you can also say void. Okay, so this is how functions are declared in Typescript. Again, all the concepts like you can have anonymous functions, you can have function expressions, you can have function declarations, you can have function constructors. All those concepts, yes, still remains the same over here. So yes, I can again do, I can say var and then I can say so again a function expression like this concept also remains the same. Function declaration, function constructors, whatever we learn in JavaScript, we can do exactly all the things over here as well. Now when you compile the code, Okay, and okay, I did not save it. Five. Okay, and if you see the JavaScript file, it's again a plain JS. With again functions with no specifically typed data types and everything. So all the things that you can do in JavaScript, you can do in TypeScript as well, along with some of the specifics of TypeScript. Okay, then moving on next. One more thing, if I just say var num1 and I do not define any type and I say 23, okay. Now if I say num1, see, so then this feature of TypeScript is called as type inference. Okay, so the type is inferred automatically by TypeScript compiler depending on the first value assigned to the variable. And now if you try to assign a different type of value, it throws an error. Then moving on to next, I can say var now when I do this, it gives me compilation error. Then declarations in the variable string name, string that has time. Okay, var str name is string. Okay. So then when I compile this, so you get both type of string. So basically, this is syntax for typecasting. If you guys are aware of typecasting in other languages, so it's kind of that if you want to convert a type to another type, you again precede them. Try reverse thing means int to string. Now it's both number. So it converts a type of this and it converts a type of this as well. So same over here. Okay. So it just allows me to store a string into a number. I guess it's doing that string, and now both store hello. It's number and both store 23. It's converting the length to string, even though I specified it to be of type number. Yes. Yeah, not exactly string to any, it's converting string. Again, it's converting this to string. Okay. Okay. Fine, just leave that part as of now. I'll explain what it's doing on Wednesday. Okay. Yeah, this is basically done to type. It's a kind of typecast, but if you see the TypeScript specifications, they say it's not exactly typecasting because typecasting also happens dynamically. And in TypeScript, everything happens only at compile time. Because when you run, actually when it's run on the browsers, there are no changes being happen. But if you know Java and .NET, in those scenarios, typecasting happens at runtime as well. So when there are inheritance of classes and you convert from one child to the parent one or so on and so forth. So that's the reason they say this is not exactly typecasting, but they call this as type assertions. So this syntax, it's called as type assertion. So I'm just asserting. So basically, if you see this spec, it says, okay, fine, I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to store a variable which is of type string, into a variable which is of type number. Shut your mouth, do what I want to do, and just copy it as it is. So that's just asserting it that I'm doing what I know so that it doesn't throw an error on runtime. So that is basically the concept behind type assertion. So they don't call it typecasting, but they use the term that is type assertion over here. Because if you see the corresponding JavaScript file, there will be nothing like, no typecasting, nothing. It's just copy paste the variable values. So just plain JavaScript. Is it fine? Okay. So if you're comfortable with the angular bracket syntax, use this one. If not, you can use the as keyword. Fine then. Everyone remembered this syntax? Right, so what were they called? Arrow functions, right? So these are again there over here as well. Fine. So you have arrow functions over here. You can also say, if you want to specify types, you can do so. It returns a type, you can do so. Okay. I will show you a few things. Number, you have a number class in TypeScript, wherein then you can find the maximum value, the minimum value. So there are various constants available. At the same time, so it has some properties like maximum value, minimum value, negative infinity, positive infinity. It has prototype, it has constructor, because again, number is a class. Okay. So you can do everything with the numbers and using the number class. So this is a small example that I have a month whose value is 0. And if it is less than 0 or greater than 12, I say it is not a number. And if not, then I print the value or whatever it is. So just a small example using the number class. Now arrays. Right. So this is the way we create arrays in plain JavaScript. In TypeScript, you want to create arrays. You can say, specify a type and by the array. You use the variable name colon, the data type of that array, followed by open and close square brackets, and then you have the list of numbers. Okay. Now here, if I say, so what's the error? Exactly, right? Then I can say, now we all know this, I guess this syntax everyone is aware. I can say where I is equals to 0, semicolon, I less than right? And I can say console.log. So everyone is comfortable with this syntax. Alternatively, I can also write this way. It has a for each method, which takes a callback method. Okay. So I say for each, and you can see the parameters. It takes a callback function. So I'm using arrow functions. If not understood, I can replace it with normal functions. Okay. Is this syntax clear to all? No? Okay. So it prints 1, 2, 3, 4. If using for each also, it prints 1, 2, 3, 4. So either you can use the normal JavaScript for loop to iterate over an array. Yes, I'll explain, Aarti. To iterate over an array, or else arrays have for each functions available. So array again is a class, and arrays have a for each function available. So then in the for each, it's a callback function. So if I want to write it in a simpler way, I will be saying for each in the bracket. Okay. No, element is not a keyword. I say function. Okay. I can use value. Sorry, for off. Yeah. Okay, there is for in as well, and for off in ECMAScript 6, and for in this JavaScript. Yeah. So it's like for each. So I say for each value inside this array, do something. Okay. So it's the same thing. So here also I am saying what? For every element inside the array till the length of the array, do something. So whatever I did over here, these 3 lines of code, I replaced it with the lambda expressions or the arrow functions. So this function takes a parameter, body, it prints console.log, body, it prints console.log. For each, same way, I'm not exploring more. But if you see array num dot, you will see that arrays, again in TypeScript, you have a class called as array, and it has so many functions. So it can filter, it can fill, it can find a particular element in the array, find the index, for each, join, keys, last, push, reduce, map, shift, slice, reverse, so on and so forth. So they are actually very easy. So I would want you guys to explore on the functions of arrays. So that is called as REST parameters, like in ES6. So you do have REST parameters over here as well. Okay. Now, I guess this file has gotten very big. So let me create one more file, and I'll say now just watch carefully. There are some variations in it. So you can declare array this way also. So either I can say colon data type followed by open and close square brackets, or in TypeScript, you can also declare array by using the array class and diamond brackets. You can specify the type. So you can write number, string, boolean, or any user defined data type as well. Okay, so this is another syntax. You can use array class, angular brackets to specify the type. then you can define the array having what type of data. So I'm not typing this one. You can just explore it on your own. Then moving on to, we have data types. Okay, functions. So we have seen this. But I'll share one link with you guys. I just hope so. Okay. So this is the official website of Typescript, and they have explained everything very nicely. Okay. So I'm just forwarding you all this link. So this is the official website, and there are many things that you can do. So they have explained everything here in depth. Each and every topic, it's there in depth. Then we've seen these types. Okay. Now, you all know about classes, right? So I can say, and then again, sorry. Okay. That's fine. So yes, you can use dollar as well, but remember to use the tick sign for it to be interpolated. Okay. So any doubts in classes? I guess this concept is clear about class. So it's there in JavaScript and ECMAScript as well. Okay. Okay. Of course, you can inherit. So I can say class developer. We use the keyword extends for inheritance, and I can say extends employee. And I can say number. It can have constructor and okay. Apart from that, so basically you do inheritance in programming languages wherein you want to reuse the existing features, but have something specific as well. So now this developer, so all the employees, whether they are developer, testers, HR, operations, or whatever it is, they all are going to have name and email. And then every specific type of employee is going to have its own specific properties. Okay. So I say developer extends employee, wherein it takes in the features, that is the properties and the methods they are inherited by default. So here you can see I haven't defined name and email explicitly over here. For that, then I can use the super keyword. So the way this is used for the current instance, yes, super is used to refer to the parent class. Why? Because developer extends employee, and employee is a parent of developer class. So then when I say super, on this statement, it goes and calls the parent class constructor, initializes the name and email for my developer, and then I call the get details method. Is it okay? So what happens over here is, on this statement it calls the developer class constructor. Here I am saying super. So from here it goes to the super class constructor, initializes the values of name and email, comes down, initializes for number of projects, and then when I say get details, over here first it calls the parent class get details method, prints this message, and then concatenates it with this message. Okay. So you can see welcome employee 1, you will receive messages. Yes. Super means go to the parent class. Perfect. Great. Then, now suppose I say, because I wrote it twice, one here for the employee object and one here for the developer object. Okay, so it calls get details 1 from here and then get details 1 from here. Okay. Now, I say great, and okay. So I can do it this way, and then when I run this, Typescript compiler interfaces.ts, and I say node. Okay, so it prints hi there, Shalini Mittal, and so on and so forth. Now, again, now this can be, so maybe I can say this can be customer 1. Okay. So I can just go on and have, so maybe I can say I have customer 2 and blah, blah, blah. And so on. right? So basically this function takes two parameters, that is first name and last name, and it does something with that and prints it. Now, if you want to make sure that whatever is being sent over here is of specific type, then you can replace this by using something called as interfaces. So I say interface, and suppose I will say customer, and every customer is going to have a first name of type string. Every customer is going to have a last name of type string. Okay, so I create an interface. The syntax is I say interface keyword, and I say the name of the interface, and then I provide the properties to it. So the way a class can have properties, constructors, and methods, interface can have properties and methods. Now, instead of writing all this stuff over here, I can say anything of type customer. And then here I can go on and I say cust dot. Then here, instead of passing this, I can just pass C1. Instead of passing this long syntax, I can just pass C2. I can also not. Here if you see C1, shows it. So then I can say it is of type custom. Again here I can go and say C2, it becomes of type custom. Now when I run, so then my code becomes very concise and clear. And now if you see the .js file, of course you will not see any constructors or anything, because interfaces are just the concept in TypeScript and not in JavaScript. So it's a plain normal, you're passing objects to it. Okay, but you want to be specific. You want to say that any object passed to this function, it needs to have the values first name, last name. You can do so by defining them inside a custom, inside an interface. So TypeScript, if you see, again when it compiles to JavaScript, it's a plain JavaScript with whatever dynamism it had, with whatever leniency it had. Yes, it will be there. But just as a developer, to make you comfortable with writing the code, because you all are aware of the object-oriented concepts. So that's the reason they've introduced all these stuff. Because now I understand that, okay, fine, whatever is of type customer is a valid thing over here. No, you cannot have implementations. Again, the same, that concept remains the same. You will not have implementations, you will just have definitions. It can be implemented by any class that implements the interface. So again, if you want to declare a function, suppose say hi, it's a function, okay, and you say the return type. That's it. Classes are static members, but not static classes. Okay, so this is how you can declare a function which can be implemented later on by your classes. That's okay. So any doubts in interfaces? Okay. Then actually, if you go on its official doc, there are many things that you can do with interfaces. So if I just show you, if I could. here. Okay, so it is explained everything in depth, and believe me, like it won't be possible to cover everything, but you have something called as optional parameters in TypeScript. If you want to give anything optional, you can have it by using the question mark. That's what I was trying over here, but I guess so. It doesn't do it for the functions maybe. So if I do this, I can skip this. Okay, because now question mark becomes optional. So this property is optional. So anyone which is of type customer, they have to define last name, but then the first name becomes optional. So there are many things that you can do in TypeScript. So just go through this document to get more in-depth information about interfaces. Okay. Then the last part for today, I guess, is covered. Okay, public, private, protected. They are again conceptual, just to make the developers work easier. But there is nothing in JavaScript. So in the classes here, if I add one more parameter called as phone, okay, and I say to be of type number, I go here and I say no, this dot phone, just hold on. Will I be able to say this dot phone? Class, inheritance class, right. No, it's not this dot. As far as I remember it. Okay. Let me try. Okay, and okay. Yeah, we don't have phone defined as local variable. That I know. If I say no, just hold on. The public one is not defined over here. Okay. Yeah, we should be able to use phone directly, but it's not allowing me to do that. Because when I say public phone, I should be able to use over here. Okay, so no, we don't use var. So actually it's just conceptual. So here when I make, now I don't have an instance variable phone, but because when you make it var, again it's local. So when I make this variable as public, even though we do not have a phone as an instance variable, I can access that using this dot because I made it as public. Okay, so this is where you use public, otherwise by default they are not available. So if I just say if I don't use public over here, and I try to do this, it gives me an error saying that phone is not there on the type employee. So when I have public, it helps me to get the parameters, the constructor parameter variables as well. Okay, so you can use public keyword and you can make any variables a part of the class instance variables to be accessed by other functions. I'm really not sure where you will use this public, frankly speaking, but yes, they have given this way. If you have parameters and you want to be accessed without defining it as instance variables, you can do so by defining the variable as a public, by defining it preceding by public keyword. Okay, and then so any doubts till now? Is it okay if I take up for more 5 minutes? Everyone? So whatever variables you define inside a class, they get access only by the object of a class. So that concept again remains the same over here as the JavaScript scope. Here the parameter, if you want to make it public, the way if you don't use var keyword, it becomes global. Here you can use the public keyword to make a variable available outside the scope of the constructor. Okay, I can do even this. Okay, so only the last part of today's session remaining is the generics part, which is there. So I will cover the generics part in the next class. And do work on the assignments, to provide the feedback. See you all 8:30 p.m. Till then, good night. Bye-bye.